Hey guys, Okami Gaming here with another fun video. And I thought today it would be really fun to do a metagame breakdown of Classic Constructed. And for my categories for this, I thought we would go based off of if you are looking to go play at Nationals or if you're going to be making it to Pro Tour Lille. I am hoping this tier list maybe helps you a little bit on deciding what decks to bring. For heroes to beat would be decks that I would be choosing from. Good meta calls would be decks that I just think are good picks that are good against the certain heroes that there are to beat. And then decks that have potential will just be essentially your average decks that you could still take and still get some wins. Maybe not make that top 8 you're looking for, but I think you could still get wins. And then for the can win, but not often enough, that's going to be your decks that you're mostly going to see in bottom brackets. And it's going to be sad that the heroes are there, but it's just kind of how the meta is right now. And then sadly bad until support releases. I feel like we already know what those heroes are going to be, but you never know, I might surprise you. But let's hop right into it. So I will explain my reasonings as to why for every choice. But I will go through the list exactly as it is. So we will end on Dory, start with Azalea. So Azalea, I'm sure all of you could guess this. Alright, she's not right there. She's going to be sadly bad until support releases. Reason being is there's no real deck in the format besides, let's say, kind of Fi, I guess, that her Red and a Ledger combo doesn't really stop. And Azalea is just in a bad spot. She's been for a very long time. Even the support with Rain Razors just hasn't pushed her over the edge yet. She's just not good right now. Even from her percentage rates off of the metagame breakdown that was released in Fab TCG, she only top 8'd once, but never got a win. And for a whole road to national season, that's pretty bad for a hero. It's very sad because she is cool, she's our original ranger, but she's just not there yet. She needs a little couple good arrows, good support cards to help her out, which I think they will bring in the future, so keep a lookout because her hero power is good. Giving Dominate on a hero power is nothing to sniffle at, but at the very moment for this meta, she is very, very bad. Alright, let's move on next to Sir Bolton. So I actually think he has potential right now. I think he's not in the worst spot because the meta's slowing down just slightly, besides certain heroes which we'll go over that are very aggressive. But because of that, he has an opening where he can run a lot of defense reacts and a lot of healing cards and just possibly Lumina Ascension combo you. And it's a deck that's always been on the radar, and I always think it has potential. I think this is the type of deck you always got to look out for. I don't think the aggro builds are very strong, or the mid-range builds. I think they do a decent amount of damage, but they just don't get there. I think you got to build him Lumina combo, and there are going to be matchups that you're just going to have to accept you just auto-lose. But I think it's your best chance, and I do think he has potential. He showed a few numbers at some road to nationals, and I would always be prepared. Always practice this matchup. Make sure that you are prepared to play against it, because if it catches you out of the blue and they Lumina combo you and you're not ready, they're just gonna get you. All right, so let's move on to the big boy Bravo. He is not the star of the show anymore, but he is still the star of the show. I think he is a hero to beat. I think Bravo is in an amazing spot right now in the meta, except against one certain hero who we will talk about later. Wink, wink. But I think he is one of the heroes to beat. His disruption is very strong right now, and just his whole 9 pummel game plan, just keep attacking, dominate attacks, pummel, ripping cards out of your hand with super disruptive effects, is very strong against a lot of the meta decks right now. Namely, talking about Fi, he's super strong against Fi, really strong against Icelander. I think he is a deck to beat, and you need to be prepared for in your sideboard. I think he will be very popular, and he's putting up some good numbers right now. Alright, next on the list, I would say Breyer is a good meta call. I think Breyer is very good in this format right now. I don't have her on Heroes to Beat because I think one hero is just a little bit better than her, but I would say for aggressive decks, she is super strong right now. She's always been strong. I don't know what else to say about that. She's Runeblade. You get your big Revel and Runeblood turns, and namely for her, you get Channel Mount Heroic, which is an amazing card, and you get Go Again a lot with her. She is just a very solid pick right now. You just always set up your explosive turns, and you just go off, and it's really hard to deal with those explosive turns sometimes. And she's definitely getting better in the meta because of the recent Stubby Hammers ban. Makes it a lot harder for Fi to race her, and makes the matchup a lot closer. So I would say she is very good meta call if you are looking for an aggressive deck to play. Alright, so let's move on to Dash. I think she has potential. Now, if we're saying Control Dash, I don't think she has as much potential. I think Control Dash is very bad in the meta right now, but I have her here because of the Aggro Dash list. I think Aggro Dash is very good in this meta right now because you can play this into this aggressive meta that we are in and just put out ridiculous damage, and it's really hard for those decks to block. So if the decks that are playing against her don't draw consistent damage hands, you're just going to outdamage them and eventually out-tempo them and just force them to play this race game that is very tough. But she has the downside that if she plays against Guardians, she's probably going to lose because she has to boost everything, so she's just going to mill out and just lose to fatigue. And I'm sorry, if you don't know what mill out means, that just means you lose all the cards in your deck because of using effects that use your deck. And boost uses your deck by banishing the top card. Old Magic term, because I play a lot of Magic the Gathering. But yeah, so I think Dash is not in the best spot, but she has potential. I think the aggro is very good if you're trying to just race the other aggro decks because it forces them to have their good turns. If they don't have their good turns, you're just going to outvalue them, which is very nice. Alright, so let's move on to Dromai. I think she is a good meta call. Reason being, her only bad matchups are going to be mostly just Fi and Breyer is pretty rough too, but it's pretty much just essentially the hyper aggro decks are going to be rough for her. But she's very strong against everything else, and even the hyper aggro decks, she can block them out and play dragons and just keep getting that value. She's a very, very good defensive deck that can just keep making very hard to deal with board states. So I think she is a good meta call into this meta, which the meta will be the heroes we have to beat up here. But I do think she has her weaknesses right now, and I just think she hasn't been completely figured out yet, but right now I do think she's on the good meta call list. I really wouldn't be surprised if she goes up to Heroes to Beat here soon. I think she is very close to being extremely powerful. I've been messing with her a lot, and I very much have been liking my list, and it does work. It really does work. It's very tough to beat if you're on a slow game plan. You really have to aggro her down, or she's just going to take over the entire game. Alright, so now let's move on to the big boy Fi. Alright, we're going to move him to number 1 of Heroes to Beat. I think he's going to be, if you're planning on going to Nationals or any callings, Battle Hardens, or Pro Tour Lille, I think he is going to be the most represented hero. I think he is extremely strong right now. Even with the Stubby Hammers ban, I still think he is the best deck in the game right now. If you're looking for the best deck to play, I think Fi is your number 1 choice. This hero is just nuts. If you were a chain player, he is the hero to pick up. Just his Art of War Spreading Flames turns are just so insane, so much value, so much damage. and you can't play the long game against him. You just can't block him out. You can't do anything because he's just gonna poke you down. You have to disrupt him and aggro him at the same time, which not many heroes can do. The hero that is best at doing it is Bravo, and it's still around a 50-50 matchup. It feels like if Bravo doesn't get enough of his aggression early, Phi's just gonna pop off, and Bravo's not gonna be able to stop it. It's just he is just such a well-rounded hero that it's very scary. I do think after Pro Tour and Nationals happens, or even before Nationals, maybe just after Pro Tour, they'll realize there needs to be some more bans for him. So I think he is a good deck to pick up right now, but at the same time, be wary. There could be another ban coming up on him. I don't think Stubby's Hammers was enough. I felt like it was a very good ban because I don't think anybody should be doing 40 plus damage on turn 2 with no setup just because of an arm piece. But yeah, he is just an amazing hero. I've been playing him a lot, so keep a lookout for more videos on me playing him. I'm hoping to have some gameplay videos soon of me playing Phi against some of my friends. And yeah, I just think he is the deck to beat. He is just insanely strong. And for this tier list, I am listing anybody to the left is number 1 in this category. I do put Bolton over Dash. I do put Breyer over Dromai. Alright, so let's move over to Icelander. She's a very tricky one. I have her in good meta calls. I don't have her on Heroes to Beat, but I do have her at the top of good meta calls. I think she's just on the edge of being Heroes to Beat. She's very, very strong deck, but I feel like if you know how to take your time against her, it's very difficult for her to get to a point where she can kill you, and usually you can win the race. Like, she's supposed to be really good against aggressive decks, but if the aggressive decks run Arcane Barrier and just sit and wait and just keep doing little bits of damage and just getting there, waiting for Icelander to have an off turn and then just try to kill her, makes it very tough for her to win those matchups. But I think she's a very good deck, but she takes a lot of skill to play. I don't think she's easy to play. So I think she's a good meta call, but you need a lot of practice on her. I don't think she is completely found yet either, kind of like Dromai, but I do think she is very strong. You're going to see her a lot, but I do think she's a good pick. When you play against other slow decks, you can kind of just cycle through your deck, play a few Frost Hexes, play a couple Amulets, and just Ice Eternal combo them and kill them, which is a very, very strong combo. It's remnants of a Lumina combo, but more consistent, more disruption. Well, I wouldn't say more consistent. I'm sorry, that's the wrong term. I would say there's just more disruption, which makes it harder to deal with. Lumina, you can at least kind of block most of the damage, as long as you don't have a lot of attack action cards in hand. Icelander, you're probably not going to be blocking most of the damage if they make you discard your hand first. But yeah, I think Icelander is a great pick for anybody to pick up. Very, very solid hero right now. Give her a try. She's fun. She's a really cool hero. I hope to practice her some more and be able to give you a little deck tech on her, because I think she's a very cool hero. Or should I say icy hero? I don't know. You guys let me know. Alright, so now let's go on to my boy Kano. I'm going to put him at the top of Have Potentials list. I don't think he's a great meta call right now, but I do think he has potential because time and time again, the one-trick Kano players have been showing top 8s and wins, and I think that's because they're very good at the deck, and I just think he's so difficult to play. It's hard to say, hey, go play Kano at this event, because I feel like you need a lot of practice before you're good at this hero to be able to get results. And I would like to at least keep this list a little bit more sane in the sense of you could pick up this hero, play about 20-30 games, and then you're good for a calling. Obviously, you want to play more than that if you're going to a major event, but just to learn the fundamentals of a hero, I feel like you have to play a lot more games than that on Kano. Kano is just insanely hard, but if you're really good at him, he is a good pick. That's why I have him at the top of have potential, because he does show results. He does very much show results when it's on a player that is very good at the hero. Alright, so let's move on to Katsu. So he's going to be the first in the can win, but not often enough. I think he is a strong hero still. He can do some really good Lord of Wind combos and just get a lot of damage pushed through with Art of War turns. But he's just... Fi's just better. Fi just does everything he does, but better. So it's just hard to put him in a category even near Fi, because Fi is just the new ninja that just is amazing. I think if you want to play Katsu, you just need to fork up the extra couple bucks and play Fi. Fi is just way better in every way, shape, or form. But if you really like Katsu, he is playable. I just don't think you're going to win as often. He just doesn't push as much damage as Fi does. Like, Fi gets Phoenix Flames, which is a third Kadachi. Katsu only gets 2 Kadachis. So it's kind of hard to argue to play Katsu over Fi. I think it is very incorrect to play Katsu over Fi. But still, he's playable. If you just want to play him at your local armory or something, you can play him. But I personally would never consider playing him at a major event. I think if you're planning on traveling to a major event, you should switch over to Fi and practice that a bit. Because it's very similar play styles, just Fi's a little bit different and just better. Just to put it blunt, he's just better. Alright, so on to Levia. So she's going to be in can win, but not often enough. I think we've been seeing that she's been getting some sound lists, so she can do some things. But she's still in that spot where it's like, she can just get fatigued. She plays against a deck that can fatigue, and they just fatigue her. If she can't go wide enough, she just dies. It's just tough. It's tough for the Levia mains out there. It's just not the right metas for her. She dies to aggressive metas pretty easily, so all these aggro decks that are going to be on top are just going to be really strong against her. It just makes it really hard to play her, which is sad because she's a really cool hero. Really cool Shadow Brute hero. I hope she gets some more support and then maybe makes it up into the meta more, because she has a very interesting playstyle, very cool, very fun. But at the moment, I don't think you should be playing her at major events unless you're just a die-hard player for her. I just think that's how she is at the moment, but that's how it'll be for now. Alright, next on to Lexi. So I actually think she's a good meta call over Dromai. Reason being, I think she is amazing against these aggressive decks like Breyer, Fi, and then there'll be another aggressive deck I'll have up here. She's good against aggressive Dash. I think she's a very good call against all of these aggressive decks because there's not as many Guardians roaming around right now, except for Bravo. Well, I guess Bravo and Oldhim are roaming around a lot, but I think she's still in a decent spot. She counters pretty much every other deck besides those two, just because of her pure disruption and aggro. Because when she's pushing 12, 15 damage a turn, and giving you frostbites, and ripping cards out of your hand, it's just so hard to keep up. It's just nearly impossible for some heroes. So I think if you want to go to a major event and you're worried about playing against Fis and stuff, I think Lexi's a good, solid pick. If you can just shut off their good turns and just keep applying pressure, they can't block very well at all, so you're just going to keep getting damage through and keep pressuring them, and eventually they'll die. So I think she's in a solid spot right now. Very good pick. Alright, next on to Oldhim. So he's also... I'm going to put him up to heroes to beat. He's been putting up a lot of decent numbers. Him and Bravo, very similarly in playstyle. So you got your aggressive Oldhims and your hyper control Oldhims that are both putting up numbers. But it's just it's just Oldhim. He just has so much disruption in his kit, and it's so hard to kill him. He is just very good into this aggressive meta with his defense react, being able to just rip cards out of people's hands, slow down their turn, prevent some damage, and then maybe swing back with a Spinal Crush, swing back with an Oakenold Fuse. I just think he is a solid hero right now, and he's putting up the numbers for it. Like, the most recent Battle Hardened finals was Oldhim and Bravo in the whole day, and that's pretty good in this meta, seeing those two in finals. But yeah, I would not be sleeping on Oldhim. I would be making sure your decks are prepared to play against him, because he is very disruptive, very annoying, very hard to kill, and he hurts. Alright, next we're going to go on to Prism. I'm going to put her right here next to Fi. I think she is super strong in this meta right now, just because so many people are playing these slower decks like Bravo, Oldhim, Icelander. If you're playing Saber's Bolton, if you're just playing Lexi, just all these heroes. Even Dromai, that matchup's kind of weird. I wouldn't say that she hard wins that or anything, but I think Prism's in a decent spot right now, and she essentially just has to have a Herald plan to deal with the aggressive decks, and besides that, she just has to have a couple sideboard cards to be able to keep her slow game plan against all the slow heroes, and normally she can do that. She has a really good sideboard, really good at swapping over from aggressive to control Prism, and she's just good in the meta. But I don't recommend building her, but I do recommend taking her to major events. She is two Living Legend points away from Living Legend, though. That's why I don't recommend investing in her, because she will win soon. If she doesn't win one of these major events, she will definitely win at least one event next RTN or ProQuest season, and she will be gone. So I wouldn't invest too much money into her or anything, but if you have her, she is a solid pick as long as she doesn't win a major event before Nationals or something, if you want to bring her to Nationals. But if she is open, I think she is a solid pick if you've played her a decent amount. She is another hero that is hard to play. Sometimes it may not seem like it. She can get some pretty nasty turns off, but she is a very skill-based hero. Very tough to play, but when a good player is playing her, she is nearly unbeatable. So keep an eye out for her. Make sure you have your sideboard plans for her. You just need to respect that she's still in the meta. That's why it's funny seeing Bravo and Oldhim, because these decks, they can't respect her. They just don't have hardly any chance of winning against her, but they're still putting up numbers, which is crazy. All right. So let's move on to Rhino. I do think that Rhino has potential. I think he has more potential than Kano. Reason being is because Rhinor's Intimidate aggro is just really strong. You can push a lot of damage through very easily and make it so they can't block. So it's really good against these Guardian heroes that want to block, because you just sit there and you just intimidate their hand away, get a 20 damage turn through on your big combo turns, and then you sit back and you block, you defense react, and then get more swinging turns in, and they can't really deal with it. And then into the aggressive metas, he's at least better than like Levia at doing this, but he can block a little bit and trade and get some damage through, and then on big combo turns he can push a lot of damage against aggressive decks. He just has to kind of win the race, but for the most part I think he's decent in the meta. I don't think he's terrible. I definitely think he has a lot of potential, and he's definitely a deck to not sleep on. He can get there. He is strong boy. All right, so let's move on to my next good meta call. I think Viserai is just above Breyer. I think if you're choosing between two Rune Blades, I think Viserai is going to be more consistent right now than over Breyer. Reason being is Breyer's mostly physical damage, and Viserai is a lot of arcane split damage with physical damage, and it's just tough to deal with. It's just so much awkward damage, awkward blocks, awkward pitches that you have to do to stop him from hurting you. And yeah, you gotta deal with him, but it's tough. It is tough. But as long as you can deal with him, you're good. But the reason I think he's good in the meta, though, there are these Minnowism builds that are coming around that I think are pretty strong. You're just running Belittles and Minnowism so you can get better Spellbound Creeper turns off, and Minnowism hits most of your attacks in your deck, especially on your Shrills. Making, like, let's say if you play Yellow Shrill with a red Minnowism, that's 9 damage on its own. It's a lot of damage. I think this is a deck that you need to respect. It is very, very powerful. I think you will see them. And I think is also, if you are a Remnant Runeblade Viserai player, like you really want to play him again, I think this is your time to shine. I think he is very strong in the meta. Go pick up his new build and give him a whirl. He's tons of fun. Alright, on to the next one, Dorinthia. I think she is right here just above Bolton, not Kano. I think she has potential in the meta. I think she's very good against a lot of these aggressive decks because of her Fridge, which a Fridge is just, as long as you can block a lot with armor, you call it a Fridge. So she has a very big Fridge because she's a warrior that can also push a lot of damage against these aggro decks that don't want to block. And if they don't block, she gets extra damage for the following turns from her Dawnblade. So it can turn out to be a tough matchup for Fi because you're never going to trigger your mask triggers because of her armor until the late game. So she's just going to keep a lot of pressure in the early game while you're trying to get rid of her Fridge. And it's just very, very tough matchup. I think she has potential in these metas, but her issue is she has a really rough time against Guardians and Prism, which are the other 3 big contenders. And it's kind of pushing her out of the meta right now. I think she might go up to a good meta call after Prism Living Legends, because then she can just tech against Guardians and then she'll have a pretty good matchup into most of the meta. But until then, I would say she just has potential. I wouldn't be surprised to see her at an event. I think she is a hero that is possibly going to be seen at big events. I don't know if she'll put up numbers or not, but I think she will be represented a little bit. But all in all, she's a solid hero right now. She can get there, especially with the new Glistening Steel Blade. It does a lot of damage if it keeps hitting. Just a lot. You have to be able to block it or it's gonna hurt. But yeah, so that is my tier list. And I hope everybody's liked my reasoning for why these heroes are good. And even after all this, I still think Fi is #1 in the meta. Even after the Stubby Hammer's ban, I think he is just such an insanely strong hero. As weird as it is to say, I think he's getting close to being on the same level as Ball Lightning Breyer back in the day, if you were around for that at all. He is very, very close to being that strong, but we'll just have to see, and we'll have to see what the numbers keep going like. Maybe there's a meta break where Fi is just not going to be good anymore, but I highly doubt it. I think we're going to need to see at least one more big ban for Fi to be kaput from the meta. But until then, have fun playing Fi. He's a very fun hero to play, so if you haven't given it a try, I recommend giving him a try. If you're looking for some decks to try out, I have 2 deck tech videos on him so far, from the deck I played in Road to Nationals and from my deck tech of what I originally played, which was a Phoenix form list. But I also have a new list that I wouldn't mind doing a deck tech for at some point, but I thought I'd do a gameplay video of it first. But I just want to say thanks to everybody for watching. If you enjoyed, please comment and subscribe, and please just honestly just give me a comment on what you think about my tier list. I thought this was a fun video to try out, and I think my opinions are justified on this, but I would love to hear your opinions on what heroes you would swap around, what you think shouldn't be in certain spots, like should Azalea be heroes to beat? Just give me your reasoning why, you know? I just think it'd be kind of fun to hear everybody else's opinions. But thanks again for watching. I hope to catch y'all next time in the next video. Thanks a lot. Peace.